Man, I cannot wait for the release of Crash Team Racing Nitro-fueled. I wish I could play it right now. We're even getting extra content from CNK. You know what? Screw it. I had a look at the original CTR, so why not do the same for CNK?
Crash Nitro Kart was actually made by Vicarious Visions, which they are more known recently for doing the Insane trilogy, and they did a fantastic job of it. CTR did really well. They decided to take a crack at their own kart formula.
Crash Nitro Kart is like the less successful younger brother to Crash Team Racing. He tries so hard to be like his big brother, even replicates the formula down to the T, but unfortunately he just doesn't quite reach the mark. He does a decent job, but not quite where his big brother is. Now, the game was out for PS2, Xbox, and GameCube. I will be playing the PS2 version, much to my regret. But with that said, guys, why don't we pop this bad boy in and see how the younger brother did compared to his older brother.
Crash Nitro Kart takes place after the Wrath of Cortex, and so now we have Crunch Bandicoot, which is where he is from. Crash is sleeping when suddenly a mysterious light appears. Also, can we talk about the fact that Aku Aku is asking advice from Crunch on weight loss? He is literally a floating mask. Why would he need to lose weight? Turns out the light was a tractor beam and they get teleported to another planet. Meanwhile, Cortex is trying to work out how to get rid of the bandicoots while Engine is experimenting, when they all get abducted as well. They appear on the planet Vilu, with Vilu being the one who brought them there. Apparently he's heard of their racing skills and wants to challenge them to a race. Well, since they got abducted and he pretty much won't return them unless they agree, they accept the challenge. Now here's where you choose your team. Yes, I said team. Unlike CTR, you choose between Team Crash or Team Cortex. Their vehicles are either all blue or all red. Unfortunately, they don't all have unique cards. Joining them in the race is Oxide, returning as a normal racer this time. Entrance, apparently he was in a Game Boy Advance game. Fun fact, there is also a Crash Nitro Kart on GBA, but I won't be covering it since I've never owned a Game Boy Advance before. We've also got Dingo Doll and Polar, who are brainwashed. I think that's also what Entrance did. And then we have Zim and Zam on Oxide's team. That's it. The goal is pretty much the same as Crash Team Racing. Racing through 4 worlds, get the trophies, and then you race the boss of that world to get a key to the next world. We do have 3 tracks instead of 4 this time, and we get CGI cutscenes every time we face a boss. Speaking of the bosses, they are completely new and original. We don't have returning bosses from CTR, unfortunately. We have Noir Papu Papu, Speed Shark, Mr. Mime, and a robot. But seriously, Crunk's world is even trouble looking like Papu's area. They even state that his world and Earth's are almost identical. I'll be honest, these bosses in my opinion are okay, but don't hold the weight of the ones in Crash Team Racing. I don't know, maybe it's because we've encountered them in previous Crash games, but I was never really drawn with the ones here. Except for Vilu. Speaking of Vilu, I do enjoy the intimidating presence he has. He's the king of the Colosseum and he makes sure everyone knows it. He starts off as a projection, but once you beat every world, he does reveal himself in order to race him. Okay, I gotta say right now, I think his boss race is worse than Oxide's. Yep, I said it. Let me explain why. So the only good thing about Vilu is he doesn't cheat like Oxide and get a head start. However, there are other things that he does. First off, it's 1 against 3, since he has 3 lackeys working for him, and they will constantly drop items to get in your way. He acts more like a normal racer in the sense that he doesn't randomly throw stuff at you all the time. Which you think, huh? That sounds better, right? Well, here's the thing. He will fire missiles almost every time at you if you get ahead. If you're tailing behind, he always throws bombs towards you at certain points in the race. Now if you're too close, you will get hit almost every time. This is what ends it all for me. You're starting to catch up and then bam, he throws a bomb almost impossible to avoid, and then you're restarting over and over and over And truth be told, I've actually rage quit to him before, and you had to rematch him later. Maybe I just suck, but with Oxide, I at least have a pattern I can learn and try to avoid. If you screw up once, it's unlikely you will catch up. It's the bombs, man. Even if you think he will not hit you and you go from the left, he'll follow you no matter what. You move to the right and then he'll hit you on the right. It doesn't matter what you do. The bombs seem to angle towards your general direction for some reason, and last time I checked, bombs don't hone. So after several attempts, I finally win. And of course he wants a rematch and threatens to destroy Earth if they don't agree. You know what that means, right? Relics! Tokens! Crystal missions. Yay. Wow, this really is like CTR. So once you've beaten him a second time, he rages so hard he explodes. Turns out it was a robot all along. Or I should say a little guy in a robot the entire time. There's a funny scene where Crash thinks about remodeling the Colosseum in his image, but then decides they all just want to go home. Vilu does that, and even Polar regains his senses, and credits. Or there should be? Huh. When the last cutscene plays, there's no credits. I'm trying to think of a game I've played that's done that before. It's really odd. But if you do want to see the credits, you can access them from the main menu. I will say, in terms of cutscenes, I think Team Cortex is a bit better, especially the ending. I won't spoil that one though. With story out the way, let's delve more into the game itself, starting with the changes to adventure mode. This time when you want to save, you can do that anytime in the hub world by pressing the start button to take you to the menu. I appreciate that, it's convenience, you know. Remember how we had to choose a team this time? Well, when entering a race, you get to choose between which team member you want to play as. The thing that's different here is that Intermediate is essentially balanced or closest to, which is Crash and Cortex now. Advanced is still the powerhouse characters like Crunch and Tiny, but now, funny enough, Coco and Engine are now the beginning characters. So if you care about stats, you'll probably play as Crash and Cortex. Now, whoever you do pick, one other of your team members will be racing with you. You can't hurt them, nor can they hurt you. However, I cannot confirm what happens if they win and not you. I personally wouldn't risk it. Now, there is a benefit to your teammate. As long as you're close by, your team meter on the right will slowly fill up. Once it's maxed out, you can activate the Team Frenzy ability. You will randomly gain items to use for a limited amount of time. This is actually a cool idea. The AI sort of rubber bands, so if you're falling behind, they will most likely be with you and vice versa. So it's useful for getting the team meter up and helping you catch up. It's sort of like Team Sonic Racing as a more recent comparison, but not as well fleshed out. As stated before, you need all the relics and the tokens, which functions the same as CTR. However, in the Gems Cup, it's a bit different here. For instance, you don't rematch the bosses at all. Neither do you unlock them. Instead, you unlock the regular races, which is honestly underwhelming in my opinion. These races should already be unlocked like they were in CTR, and then have the bosses playable. We may as well segue to the character list in this game. A total of 16 races. Team Crash, Cortex, Oxide, Zem and Zam, all from Gasmoxia, Entrance, Polar Dingo, who are mind controlled, Pura, which you have to unlock by getting 50 consecutive boosts. 50? A bit excessive? With Team Crash, and you also need to do the same with Team Cortex to unlock Fake Crash, who also returns. Once again, we have the time trials, which means Entropy can also be unlocked. And finally, you can actually unlock Vilu, but beating Team Cortex's adventure mode and Team Crash's mode. Again, isn't this a little bit excessive? Maybe? Unfortunately, I ran out of time for this review, so I cannot show you Velo or Tropy's gameplay, but I guess it gives you incentive to try them yourself, I suppose. When it comes to the levels, I do feel like Crash Nitro Kart tries maybe a bit too much to be like its older brother. Some levels feel similar to Crash Team Racing, like Inferno Island is pretty much Crash Cove, Clockwork Wampa is basically Cortex Castle. Though to be honest, I think I prefer this level more than Cortex Castle. That's not to say that there isn't original levels though. Like for example, Hyper Speedway, and this might be my favourite track, due to you going through portals that teleport you to different areas, with my favourite being outside in space, where you can see planets in the background. Oh, I almost forgot! There is something new that C&K did do. Certain levels actually have an anti-gravity section.
Ha! Take that, Mario Kart! C&K did it first.
It's mainly aesthetic more than anything, but there are some cool ways that they use it. Let's not forget arguably the most important part, how does it control compared to Crash Team Racing? Well, it definitely feels a lot stiffer when controlling your car in my opinion, and power sliding. It's something you can get used to, but CTR definitely wins in terms of controls. Maybe if the controls were more tighter, the Velo boss fight wouldn't be as much of a pain. Most of the items in the game are pretty much the same as before, though some of them do have a bit of a graphics change. They function the same though. Now there's one last thing I want to mention that I think was a cool idea, at least in concept, was the arena making mode. Yeah, you can actually edit the arena levels. Well, sort of. You can actually place your own items, like crates, crystals, flags? Not sure what they do. I could see this being a fun thing to do, and getting your mates to try your custom arenas and try to beat them.
I don't think Crash Nitro Kart is on the same level as Team Racing, but honestly, Vicarious Visions did a pretty decent job. Now, I don't really go back to it much, but I do often wonder, maybe the game could benefit if it had CTR's controls. Now with the release of Nitro-fueled and the added content from Nitro Kart, I may get my answer and see how well it works together. I cannot wait. I really want it right now. Yo, Activision, you want to give me like an early copy? Please? I'll be your best friend.